Mommy, wake up, wake up. My daughter shook me gently, her face full of worry. What's wrong? I asked, rubbing my eyes as I woke up. Mommy, I think you shouldn't be with Daddy anymore, she said urgently. I was wide awake in an instant, confused by her words. What do you mean? I asked, trying to understand. Sarah explained that she thought it would be better if Dad and I split up. Why would you say that? I was shocked by her suggestion, but as she explained, I realized she had a point. My name is Emma Simpson, and I'm a 34-year-old mom who works full-time. I sell insurance for a big company, balancing work and taking care of Sarah, especially since I have to drop her off and pick her up from daycare, is tough. I have to finish all my work between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. I've been doing this job since before I got married, and now more than 10 years have flown by. I've worked hard and earned my place in the company. Even though I have a family, I can't afford to slack off at work. Why do I work so hard? It's for my daughter, Sarah. She just turned 5, and she's such a bright kid. Sometimes I'm amazed by how mature she is for her age. My husband and I want to give Sarah all kinds of experiences and lessons, but in today's world, everything costs money. So, for Sarah's future, I need to work hard to earn as much as I can. I push myself every day just in case something unexpected happens. Some people might say I don't need to work so hard. Doesn't my husband earn enough? Well, yes, he does work. But here's the thing, my husband's job isn't very stable. He works for a company that hasn't been doing well lately, so his salary keeps getting smaller. Right now, it's only about a third of what I make. It's hard to rely on him for money. The other night, after Sarah went to bed, my husband came to me nervously. Emma, can I borrow some money? He asked. What for? I haven't even gotten this month's paycheck yet, I replied. I promise I'll pay it all back next month. I had a few drinking parties and some other expenses. I'm short on cash, Keith explained. Wait, you spent your entire salary on yourself? I can't believe it, I said, surprised. I'm sorry, but I couldn't say no, he said. Lately, this has been Keith's behavior. He always finds an excuse not to cover the living expenses and even asks me for money. He usually says it's for drinking parties or to help his parents. I can't be sure if he's really spending money for those reasons, but I've stopped confronting him about it. It seems like he always relies on my money. What would he do if I didn't lend it to him? Remembering our past talks, Keith mentioned he finds it hard to save money and his bank account is almost empty. That means if he needs cash, he has to borrow it from somewhere, possibly getting into debt. With a 5-year-old daughter, I don't want her to grow up thinking her dad is bad with money, so I usually end up lending him money. Okay, how about $200? I offered. You're a lifesaver, Emma. I promise I'll pay you back everything next month, Keith said gratefully. You always say that, but you've never actually paid me back, have you? I replied, feeling frustrated. Well, I'm sorry, but this time I'll definitely pay you back and I'll stop going to drinking parties, Keith promised. You better think it through. Our priority is Sarah, I reminded him. I know, Keith said, sounding remorseful. I couldn't help but wonder if Keith truly understood the seriousness of our situation. Debating with him made me feel awful, but sometimes it was hard not to. I let out a deep sigh, feeling conflicted. I support Keith so much, not just because he's my husband, but because he's an amazing dad to Sarah. Every weekend, he makes sure to spend quality time with her. One morning, Keith suggested, Emma, I'll take care of Sarah today. Why don't you go out and relax? But I have so much to do at home, I replied. Don't worry about it. We can order lunch and tidy up together. I'll handle what I can, Keith insisted. Really? Sarah, still half asleep, smiled. Can you wait, Sarah? It'll be just you and Daddy playing, I said, rubbing her eyes. Sarah hugged me and said, I'm fine with that, Mommy. Okay then, maybe I'll go shopping for a bit, I said, feeling a bit relieved. Yay, but don't forget to get me something too, Sarah exclaimed. I'll bring back your favorite bread, I promised. Yay, thank you, Mommy, Sarah cheered, her face lighting up with joy. Sarah, at just 5 years old, behaves surprisingly well. Of course, I wouldn't leave her alone at home, even though I felt a bit nervous about leaving her with my husband. Just in case, I left a note in Sarah's bag with my phone number on it. I always remind her to call me if anything happens. Everything will be okay. That day, I went shopping by myself for the first time in a while, but even after browsing the department store, I couldn't find anything I really wanted. So, instead of buying something for myself, I picked out some clothes I thought Sarah would like and got her favorite chocolate croissant. I'm home, I announced as I opened the door. Sarah came running to me with a big smile. Mommy, welcome back. How was shopping? Did you have fun? I'm back, Sarah. It was nice to have some time to myself. Here's the surprise I got for you, I said, handing her the treats. Wow, a chocolate croissant and new clothes too. Can we have the croissant tomorrow morning? She asked. Wait, where's Daddy? Oh, Daddy's on the balcony talking on the phone. I replied on the phone. Who's he talking to? I wondered aloud. When I peeked out onto the balcony, I saw Sarah was right. My husband was happily chatting away while smoking. When I tapped on the window, he looked surprised and quickly ended the call. You're back already? He asked. Yeah, I'm back. But who were you talking to? I asked. Oh, it was just work stuff, he replied casually. You left Sarah alone inside the house, I said, feeling a bit frustrated. I'm sorry, it came up suddenly, he apologized, looking sheepish. Sarah looked disappointed and said, Mommy, did you know Daddy said he'd play with me, but he was on the phone a lot today? Really? I asked, feeling a bit let down. Yeah, you're right, he promised we'd read a book together, I confirmed. When I looked at my husband, he seemed regretful. That night, we had dinner together as usual, and I bathed Sarah, because I felt bad for leaving her alone during the day. I tried to spend extra time with her. After Sarah fell asleep, I had a serious talk with my husband. Keith, are you really that busy? It feels like you're always on work calls, even on weekends. Yeah, the workload has been crazy, and I've had to do a lot of overtime, so when I've been coming home late lately, it's because of work, not going out drinking, he explained. Okay, it's because of work, but when you're on the phone, can you make sure to spend time with Sarah too? Work is important, but so is our family, I reminded him. Okay, but Sarah looked really lonely. From now on, when I go out, I'll take Sarah with me, and if you're going to be busy with work, just let me know in advance, Keith promised. Got it, I'm going to bed now, Keith said, bidding goodnight before heading to the bedroom with his phone. For the past 6 months, Sarah and I had been sleeping in the same bed more often, while Keith slept alone in the bedroom. Although I enjoyed sleeping next to Sarah, I couldn't deny that our time together as a couple had decreased. Keith didn't seem bothered by it, but as a woman, I sometimes felt a twinge of loneliness. Then one night, Mommy, wake up. Sarah's sudden voice jolted me awake. I glanced at the clock. It was 2 a.m. In the quiet darkness, Keith must be asleep in the other room. I sat up and asked, Sarah, what's wrong? Mommy, I have a request, Sarah said seriously. A request? What is it? I want you to break up with Daddy. What? Sarah's words snapped me out of my drowsiness instantly. What did you just say? Mommy, I want you to break up with Daddy, Sarah repeated, trying to mask my shock. I looked into her eyes. Why would you say something like that? Because, Mommy, if things stay like this, you're in danger. Danger? What do you mean? I'm okay, but Dad, he wants to hurt you. What happened, Sarah? I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she cried, but she seemed to calm down a bit when I gently stroked her back. Earlier, when I got up to use the bathroom, I heard Dad talking on the phone in his room. Really? What was he talking about? I asked, feeling a mix of worry and confusion. He said it would be good if something happened to you, Emma, so we could get the insurance money. What's insurance money? I asked. Deep down, I already knew they were talking about hurting me on purpose. Why, Keith, why would he say that? I wondered aloud. Also, Daddy said I love you on the phone, but not to you, it was to someone else, Sarah added. Don't worry, Sarah, I'll make sure everything's okay, I reassured her, tears welling up in my eyes again. My daughter, so young yet so perceptive, must have sensed something was wrong. Children are often very aware of their parents' feelings and actions, even at a young age. Despite her tender years, Sarah must be worried about my safety. At that moment, tears of gratitude and anger mixed in my eyes, gratitude towards Sarah for her bravery and concern, and anger and sadness towards Keith for his actions. My little girl trying so hard to protect me. Now that she's spoken up, it's time for me to take action too. I have to do something about the situation myself. Looking at Sarah, I began to speak slowly. Sarah, I need to talk about something very important. Can you listen carefully? I'm listening, Mommy. And if what you said earlier is true, then you can't stay with Daddy anymore, right? That's right. I'm considering leaving this house. What do you think, Sarah? Sarah paused for a moment, thinking deeply, but then she looked at me with determination and replied, I want to stay with you, Mommy. Are you sure about leaving? I asked. Yes, I'm sure. I can't be without you. Thank you, Sarah. Let's go. I instructed her to quietly and quickly gather her things. Sarah began to pack her backpack, being careful not to make any noise to alert her father. I hadn't realized how mature and responsible she had become. Touched by her growth, I too prepared to leave, leaving my wedding ring on the living room table. Together, we left the house. It was still dark outside when we arrived at my parents' house and rang the doorbell at 5 a.m. My mother, looking sleepy, answered the door. Emma and Sarah too? What brings you here so early? I'm sorry for dropping in like this, Mom. Can we stay here for a while? Of course, dear, but what's going on? There's something we need to talk about, I said. After my mother showed me to the living room, she put Sarah to bed in the adjacent room. Sarah looked exhausted and quickly drifted off to sleep. A comforting cup of tea sat on the table in front of me, courtesy of my mother. Taking a sip, I gathered my thoughts and began to speak. It seems Keith is planning something involving me, possibly an accident, I said, the words heavy on my tongue. My parents were stunned into silence. My father, trying to maintain his composure, asked, What do you mean? Why would Keith do such a thing? Sarah overheard Keith talking on the phone. He told the person he loved her. I suspect he's having an affair. That's unbelievable, an affair? But Sarah only heard the call. How can you be sure? My father's disbelief was evident in his tone. I brought Keith's tablet. If we look into it, things might become clearer, I said, pulling out the tablet from my bag. Since Keith wasn't likely using his phone to communicate with his lover, he must have been using this tablet instead. When I opened it, I found that it wasn't locked. As I cautiously scrolled through the screen, my suspicions were confirmed. When I opened the email app, there were numerous exchanges with a woman I didn't recognize. This, my mother pointed at the screen, appears to be a detailed plan to cause an accident involving you. I quickly snapped photos of the emails as solid evidence and printed out the conversation for future reference. Just then, my cell phone rang from inside my bag. Glancing at the screen, I saw it was a call from Keith. With determination, I answered the call and switched to speaker mode. Hello. What's up, Emma? Where are you? I woke up and noticed no one was in the house. I'm worried. Keith's voice came through. Is that all you have to say? I asked, my voice trembling with anger. Really? What do you mean? I'm worried about the two of you. How dare you say that? Are you planning to get me caught in an accident? I retorted. Keith's response was swift and defensive. What? Why would you say that? His voice sounded shaken. He must have been shocked to realize that I knew about the secret plan he had been hiding. He probably used to call his mistress while I was asleep. Now that he knew I was aware of everything, he must be completely confused. I heard it from Sarah. You planned to cause an accident so you could get insurance money, I said firmly. That's not true. It can't be, Keith denied vehemently. Really? What can't be true? I pressed. Sarah told me about your conversations with your mistress. I know about your plan to harm me and claim insurance money. Why would she say that? Keith protested, sounding feeble, confirming my suspicions about both the affair and the accident plan. Keith seemed at a loss for words, inadvertently admitting the truth. His guilt was undeniable. I never thought you could stoop so low. I'll raise Sarah properly. Why don't you go live happily with your mistress? I never want anything to do with someone like you again. Remember this, I'll never forgive this betrayal. I couldn't help but raise my voice in anger as I spoke to Keith. Without waiting for his response, I hung up the phone. It seems I woke up my daughter with my raised voice. I noticed Sarah standing in the doorway. Mommy, are you okay? Sarah asked, her voice filled with concern. Sorry, Sarah, did I wake you up? I asked, feeling guilty. No, don't worry about it. What happened with Daddy? It's okay now, you don't have to worry anymore, I reassured her. Really? Are we safe? Can we always be together? Sarah's eyes were filled with hope. I nodded and smiled at my daughter's bright eyes, then hugged Sarah tightly, comforting her. Soon after, I made the decision to divorce Keith. Through my lawyer, I successfully claimed a significant amount in child support. Although Keith's actions could have warranted police intervention, I didn't want to cause any more disruption for Sarah's sake. I completely cut ties with Keith and left the legal matters to my lawyer. I later heard that Keith was abandoned by both his parents and his mistress shortly afterward. Now, he struggles to pay child support and settle property division. On the other hand, Sarah and I started a new life in a new house. Sarah adjusted well to her new nursery school and seemed to enjoy every day. While there may be challenges ahead for us, I believe that with Sarah by my side, we can overcome anything. She is my absolute partner, and together we can face whatever comes our way.